and get us going. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving your time, your precious time to this space. I do not take it lightly. I honor your time and your presence, and I just want to serve you and, give you absolutely everything I possibly can in this space of this hour. So just honoring you, as I said, for being here. We could be doing many other things. We could be watching Netflix. We could be rendezvousing. We could be whatever it is that we're doing. And we're here choosing to grow and thrive and blossom. So honoring your soul for choosing that. What I want to do is take us on a little bit of a journey tonight. I'm going to take us on a little bit of a weaving of some story with some application on how you can unlock your power and abundance in your life and completely transform it to exactly the way you want it to be. Who would like that? Does anyone come here for some of that? Give me a yeah. Awesome. That's what we're going to be doing. And I like to intuitively go with, these trainings. I actually haven't run a larger, masterclass for a little while. I've been doing sort of these more intimate, smaller ones. So pumped to have all your energy here. I feel the energy of the group. So super excited to jump in. So what I'm going to do is we're going to lean into a little bit of a journey through alchemy. And alchemy is around you turning lead into gold in your life, you turning your dense energy, your unconscious, the things that you're not wanting, the things you're creating in your life that you do not desire, whether it would be around your business and money, whether it be around relationships, health, whatever it is, and turning it over to gold to be exactly the way you desire it to be, exactly in alignment with your heart, and exactly in the way that you were born here to be, because we are born to deserve to have everything that we want in life, all we desire and much more beyond our wildest dreams and expectations. And that's what I want to help you do tonight. So we're going to go on a journey, and we're firstly going to start in the unconscious and the shadow and the shit that we don't like. And I'm going to start with my story there to help you understand a little bit about that from my perspective and help you see it from a real life application. And when I'm sharing this, I want you to be reflecting on what are you understanding and relating to? What are you learning as I share? And how can you relate? Where are you in this story? Okay, because you are in this story as well. It may not be exactly the same as mine, but you have your own version of this. Okay, so let's start. Alchemy starts in lead. Okay, it starts in the unconscious. It starts in, if we want to go on this journey and this adventure to creating exactly what we want, we need to be facing our crap. We need to face our hidden shadow, unconscious stuff that we don't want to necessarily see. Because we do not look at that, it's running rampant in our life and we have no idea. And it is in control and it is creating havoc. It is creating nightmares. It's creating all these things we don't desire. We have no idea and we cannot change it. So by turning the light on here is the very first step that we need to do. So I want to explain a few things to you to give you an understanding of how much we create everything. And we either create what we don't want or we create what we do want. You are a powerful being. And I want to help you see this to begin with. So the first thing, I want you to reflect on your journey. And if you're really coming here, set that intention of like, what is it that you really want to come away with? If you're coming here to learn more around your business and how to unlock abundance in your life, set that intention and look at it through the lens of abundance. If you're here because there's something else that you really want to expand and grow into, you want gold in some other area, look at it through that lens, okay? But I'd love you to hone in on one area for this purpose. So I'm going to talk to you around abundance majority, but I will spring in other elements to show how it plays out in other parts of life. When I grew up, and I'd love you to go back to your childhood and think about your money story and your, experience as a child. When I grew up, my family, my dad particularly, he had a lot of scarcity in his life because he grew up in a farm. And there was this experience where he'd have nothing and they had no food, hardly anything to live by. And then they had all this food and all this abundance with the farm. And then they had nothing and then they had more. And so as he grew up, he kept this experience in his life. So to the point that he would have a job as a pilot and then he would lose his job. Some big thing would manifest in the industry and he'd lose his job. For a year, he was battling, trying to get money and earn, and there was no piloting work. And so we had to move overseas. And then we were overseas for a few years. That was the only place he could get a job. And then that ran out and that stopped. And so we had to come back here. And again, no job for many chunks of time. And I remember that fear and that scarcity and that inconsistency around money. And I remember the fights that it would create and the love issues that would create, that money was a real problem and it would create love issues and it wouldn't always be there. And I had to be worried about it. You know, there was a fear around it. There was an anxiety around it. So that's a little bit about some of my unconscious. Okay. And interestingly, as I grew up throughout my life, when I was becoming an adult and stepping into careers and things, what happened to me? I would get a job and then all of a sudden in a year or two, it would be redundant. I would lose it. And often right around Christmas time. And I would just not have any money. I'd freak out, figure out, and then I'd get another job. And then the same thing would happen again. And then here's me starting out a business 6 years ago, nearly 7 years ago. What do you think happens? This is my money story. This is my vibration and the unconscious, what's going on underneath for me with money. So I start a business, hoping for the best, thinking I'm going to like really try hard and make money. I start making a little bit. I make around $30,000 in the first 6 months just by willpower and pushing my ass off and trying really hard, even though I had no idea what I was doing. But then January comes by, December, January, which is this time where I have funky energy around money. And what happens? $0. No money coming through my business. For 3 years, I have this experience of having it, not having it, going somewhere, not going there. It doesn't matter how much I try, how much strategy I learn, how much willpower I go into. I just can't seem to break out of this pattern. And I never really saw and understood that there was actually a deeper layer around this. And it was a deeper feeling of fear and scarcity that I had, that I kept creating this experience all the time. Now, interestingly, amongst all of this, there were a few things that I did that was a win. So for instance, I had quite a strong belief in God and the universe at this point in my business. And I had just become a single mom, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment. So I believe that God and the universe isn't going to let me down. I'm a single mom. They're not going to let me down. I'm going to get the exact amount of money every month that I used to get in my job. And I just believe it. I just deeply feel it, deeply believe it. And what happens? For 6 months of that year, every month to the dollar, I get the exact amount of money I used to get in my job. It could have been through my business. It could have been through different places, whatever, but it happens. Whatever we're deeply feeling and unconsciously like feeling and vibrating out, thinking, believing, it is going to be reflected in our life. If you do not have something you want right now, you are co-creating it. And that's a really massive thing to see, you know, and I didn't even see it for quite a while. There was 3 years of this going on that I was just running in this unconscious pattern and I didn't even see. But literally I could tell you and break down for you every month, because that happened for that 6 months. And then I moved away to the beach and I just believed that God and the universe wasn't there anymore because my family were further away. And so then God wasn't there and the universe wasn't there. And that's the month that I stopped having money. So every time I can tell you, you know, bang for bang, moments where I was creating something sort of what I wanted or not what I wanted, just based on how I was feeling and thinking at the time. So that's in the money context. And that's just giving you a bit of an example of my unconscious and how it was playing out in the money context. I want to tell you another part around the love context, so you can see it from another angle as well. So another thing that happened is growing up, I had a bit of a feeling like I was just going to be left, abandoned. I didn't feel emotionally that connected to my mom at the time. And my dad was a pilot, so he was away a lot. So I just always felt like I was going to be left. I was going to be abandoned, something like that. There was just this deep fear around that as well. So what happens is I'm 21 and I find this guy. He's super attractive, super hot. And I feel he comes from this family of like very strong, committed people who, you know, stay together with people and like stay with everyone. And my big fear was getting in divorce, being cheated on, all these sort of things. I didn't ever want that to happen. So I choose someone thinking, that person's not going to leave me. That person, I don't like a whole lot about that person in other ways. You know, they're not what I want in these other, but they're committed. they're gonna, you know, my willpower's like, oh yeah, I'm going to sort this out. I'm going to solve this problem. I don't want to be left. Aha, I know. I'm going to go to someone who's not going to leave me. Awesome. Beautiful. Then 10 years into that relationship, I'm 6 months pregnant. Often in those times of that relationship, deeply afraid that he was going to leave me or cheat on me or something, a lot of the time, vibrating and fearing that. Within a month, when I'm 6 months pregnant, I find out he's cheating on me and I have to end the relationship. And so I'm coming into being a mom, then I'm just meeting up being single and losing this partner that I was in love with for 10 years. Trying to figure out how on earth I'm going to create money, trying to figure out, how I'm going to build my life from this point when I'm super depressed. But can you see, and I look back now, I can see that my unconscious created that and co-created it, not by myself, with him, but I created what I didn't want. I created my biggest nightmare. I created my deepest fear because I had no actual idea about my unconscious and what was happening there. None of that was even really that conscious. And I was just trying to compensate and figure it all out from a willpower angle. But all it ended up doing was creating more of what I didn't want, more debt, more scarcity, more lack, more loveless experiences in my life, more unworthiness, more you don't deserve it, you're not lovable. I just kept perpetuating the deepest fears in my life. So I'd love you, while I'm talking about this, to think about where maybe you have some fears or some beliefs and things that are playing out in your life right now. Start to look at the unconscious patterns that you might have, particularly around money and abundance, but other areas of life as well. Because we need to switch the light on to this. This was me, yeah. Yeah, if you have anything to say, you can put it in the chat. If there's any takeaways so far as well. Now, this all looks quite dark and shadowy and these pieces, and it can feel quite heavy. However, I uncovered something called the superconscious 3 years ago. Right at the brink of the worst point in my business, when my unconscious was playing out to a really high degree. So it created that shitstorm and that nightmare with my ex-husband 6.5 years ago. And it created many messes after that as well. And no matter what, the painful thing was that no matter what I tried, no matter how much I learned, I'd spent $440,000 on personal development. I'd studied 8 years of psychology. I had worked my ass off to try and fix myself and fix all these problems and stop this from happening ever again. And it seemed like every time, it was like in a pool when you're trying to grab at a ball, but it just keeps pushing further away. It seemed like the harder I tried, the further it went away and the further it pushed away. And it was exhausting and it was depressing and it was frustrating. I remember being in some trainings and it was like this experience. I'm not going to mention what it was. Some of you may do it. I don't know. But I was in this 12-hour experience where I was meant to break through and stop all these beliefs and stop all these emotions, these negative emotions that were hurting my life. And I was meant to have a breakthrough and never have them ever again. And I feel on top of the world, feel like I've had this breakthrough. And then a month later, I have the exact same experience again. And I feel absolutely shit and that I'm a shit person and that this is never going to happen ever. So it was depressing, challenging, painful. You're trying your hardest and you just keep creating the same stuff. Has anyone ever felt that before? Yeah. Glad I'm not alone. And luckily, I stumbled across this superconscious work. And for the first time in my life, I uncovered that I'm actually not broken and you're not actually broken either. I'm actually not needing to be fixed and you're not needing it either. And these beliefs are just an orientation and it's a way that my unconscious is just trying to figure out my life. When I'm a child, I'm just trying to figure out how the life works, who I am, who other people am. I'm just trying to orientate to who I am. And this is just something that I have in me. I still to this day have some of these beliefs. I still to this day have these emotions. I still just had a 200K a month and struggle with fears and doubts. But that's okay. I don't need to change that. We don't actually need to fix any of that, change it, nothing. It can just be there. And we can just see it and acknowledge it and know that it's there. All we actually need to do with the unconscious and all we need to do with these beliefs isn't change it, isn't fix it, isn't berate it, isn't fight it, isn't demonize it. It's just to see it and witness it and get to know it and have awareness around it. And to what I do is even send love towards it, because it's just this little inner child of mine still holding on to this stuff that's not true about her, but she's just adamant that it is. Same as my son believes in some crazy stuff. I don't yell at him and try and chastise him and change him from, I just send him love and let him see the awareness of it. That's all that our unconscious wants. It wants to be seen. It wants to be heard. And it was running rampant in my life and controlling my life because I wasn't seeing it. I wasn't listening to it. I wasn't hearing it. So I uncovered this training and it just told me I just had to turn the light on. I just had to be open and honest with the truth of where I'm at right now. Turn the light on to the unconscious and what I'm feeling right now. That's all. It seems simple, but I just need to let it be and express it. That's it. The thing is, in this first stage of alchemy, a lot of us go into one of two phases, one of two polarities with this. One is we go into this denial. We don't want to see it. We don't want to look at it. We don't want to admit this dark stuff. We don't want to think about our doubts. We've been told, rab-a-dab-dab, like, don't think about it, just push through or whatever bullshit we've been told. So we don't want to look at it. So we're in denial and we're numbing and we're just always trying to avoid our pain and our unconscious and our beliefs. Like we're just trying to run away from it as fast as we can. That's what some of us do. And that's what I was trying to do for a long time, but it just kept recreating it at higher force and velocity. The more I tried to run, the more I tried to fight, the worse it got. Or we stay stuck in it. We wallow in it. We are miserable. We believe every single thing it yells at us. We let it hold us back. We let it stop us. We let it tell us we're not ready. We can't do it. We're not going to move. We can't create shit because we're this imperfect person. We're not ready. We need to go study this. We need whatever. And we buy into the bullshit and we listen to it and we stop and we don't do what we want to do. We don't go for our heart. When I go to launch something, I just had a launch that made $200,000. Do you think at the beginning I was sitting there like, woo, I'm going to master this, baby? And, no, I was sitting there thinking, no one's going to flip it. I'll tell you what I was thinking. No one cares about you, Miranda. No one's going to come. You're a has-been. Your business has peaked. That's it. You had it like set, most of the time off at the start of the year. People have forgotten who the heck you are. You don't matter. Stop. That's what my unconscious was telling me. If I listened to that, I would have not created this epic program for these women who are already seeing fantastic results. And I wouldn't have had my evolution of that I did. This last launch, I've had a biggest evolution. I'm a completely different person in a month. I wouldn't have had that. They wouldn't have that if I said no and I stopped. But if I tried to deny it and just try and move past it, I wouldn't have been able to magnetize and attract the women that I did, because I wouldn't have been learning the lessons and moving past it. I want to give you a moment to share with me what you're learning, what your key takeaway is in the chat so far. We've got a few more things to look at, but what's the key thing landing for you right now? And when you're writing that in the chat, once you've done that, I'm going to just hold some space for you for a few moments to try and apply this in real time right now for you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold some quietness, some stillness. I'm going to go on mute. And I want you to just spend a couple of minutes, probably only be 3 minutes or something. And I want you to think about what it is that you'd love to create, what it is that you want to manifest right now, whatever it is. It could be a program, money, abundance, a love life, relationship, anything, whatever it is. And I want you to step into a circle of truth to yourself and just talk out loud is really great. If someone's around, then, you find it's hard, that maybe, you might need to write it, but it's really powerful if you talk this out loud. And I want you to hold a space for yourself to just speak the truth of what's happening right now. What are your fears? What are your doubts? And what's the truth of right now for it? And just give yourself some space to let that unconscious be heard. Okay. So I'm going to give you a few minutes. I might play one song. Dive into that. Just start tuning into what is in the unconscious for something that you want to create. What's the fears? What's the doubts? What's underneath? What's the truth of right now? I'll give you a few minutes to do that, to help you apply this principle. Okay. So just start to complete that circle of truth. So everyone, most of the time, has these thoughts there, has this voice and this being, the victim. The first phase is to be, aware of the unconscious, aware of the victim, right? That's the first phase of alchemy. All of us have it. I had it for this masterclass. I have it every day I wake up, every day I go and launch something, every day I go for someone thing, every time I tell a man I love him, whatever it is, this stuff comes up. We always have it. We all do it. I have some high-level coaches who are making $1 million months. They have it. There is no one that escapes and precludes. There is no point where this will stop. It's just a part of life. It's a part of humanity and the way we are as a human. It's our humanness. You just need to give it space. You just need to hear it. Let it be seen. Let it be heard. That's it. That's it. Very powerful. And, I've heard it being said that if we then try and fly off towards our dreams, but we don't acknowledge this and we don't have that awareness here and we don't release this, it's like, Superman or Wonder Woman trying to fly and they're chained to the ground. Like, this is the first step. You need to unchain. You need to let go. Or I like to use the analogy of if I'm going to go shoot for something and I'm using like an archery bow and arrow, I need to go back before I go forward. I need to go into my shit. I need to let the fears come out before I can propel forward. And this is actually a vital step. If you try and shoot a bow and arrow without the tension of the backwards step, without going into the reservations, without going into the victim and the fear, you cannot go forward. That actually gives that energy to propel you. And it's just a vital step that's essential in there. Doesn't mean you need to find it and look for it. If you're feeling in a high vibe state, you don't need to go looking, but it will come. You will be triggered, especially if you're going for your heart and you're going into the zone of discomfort, it's going to come up. So that's the first phase, is just being aware of the unconscious, being aware of the victim. That's the first part of creating what you want, is the victim, okay? And hearing it out, seeing it, hearing it, having awareness around it. Or else it runs rampant, or we get stuck there, okay? Second phase of alchemy, second phase of what you desire, is the creator, tapping into the creator. You see, before this point, I literally have a before the superconscious and the after the superconscious, a BC and an AD experience for myself. Because up until this point, I was creating shit shows all around me and lots of things I didn't want. Or I sort of created something I wanted, but it was all out of willpower and striving and really masculine, hardcore energy. It was really hard to get, and it was really hard to hold. When I uncovered the superconscious, I understood that I'm actually this godlike being. I'm actually this powerful force of nature to be reckoned with. The actual essence of my soul is the most powerful, genius, intuitive, intelligent, creative, all connected to time and space, part of the cosmos, made from stardust being, which you are also. All of us are. Every single human being is that. We are all a miracle of life. It is 1 in 17 trillion chances that you have been born, which is the same likelihood of me throwing out a lifesaver, a little round lifesaver in the ocean somewhere, and you going out somewhere in the exotic world and putting a turtle there and it popping up into that lifesaver. That is the same likelihood that you are here sitting in front of this screen right now. You are a miracle. We are all a miracle. When you tap into your actual soul, who you truly are, your actual essence, that creator force that you are, that goddess, that godlike being inside of you, you create like no tomorrow. You create the most powerful miracles you've ever seen in your life. And I just tapped into this and I understood this essence. And I can kid you not, the month before I knew about this, I was in $20,000 of debt. And I was spending $5,000 a month on these coaches, trying to do all this strategy, trying to do all this work and not really getting anywhere. I uncovered this and I just was pulling myself into more of a hole. The guilt and the shame and all the things, it was just, I couldn't describe it. This was after many years in my business. I uncovered this. The next month, I made a $20,000 month. Never done that before in my life. The first time I did this, I made a $10,000 one, and then I made this 20. First time, I meditated for the month, didn't do any strategy, and I manifested a $10,000 month. I've never done that before in my life, ever. 3 years, working my ass off, never created $10,000, meditate for a month, doing nothing else, create $10,000. What the heck? Do not suggest you just meditate, by the way. We've got other things to say. But this was a first entry point into this power of tapping into my genius and what I can create. And then from that point on, I have never gone below a $10,000 or $20,000 a month ever again from that point on, even though my whole life I struggled with money and abundance. My whole life I had all this unconscious bullshit, creating all this stuff. From that point on, when I uncovered this super conscious work, never had it ever again. Changed for good. BCAD, new person. Not even new person, just recovered and discovered who I actually was, and instead of the bullshit I was believing about myself. And I continued to grow and thrive. And it wasn't just making money. It was coming from that heart of service, actually caring about people, because before that, I was seeing people as dollar bills and messaging them and trying to just get them to things, actually really caring and really wanting to serve them. Actually really enjoying what I did and actually creating a business that was aligned to who I was, and it was exactly the person I was meant to be. Actually allowing love into my life instead of just doing my business all the time, to the point that I could never let anyone else in, because all I was trying to do was fix this myself and my business. Becoming the healthiest person. Every area of my life radically transformed from that moment forward, because I tapped in and realized who I actually was. The essence of myself wasn't the unconscious. It wasn't all of that. That was stories that I was making up. The true essence of who I was this powerful force that couldn't be reckoned with. And manifest $100,000 in a month through just literally a couple of actions. I could probably say there were 5 things I did in that launch to do that. $200,000 from a couple of things I did to do it, because I was connected and aligned to this creative force that could just magically magnetize them. I will tell you one example of one of the women I had in my training last round. I was calling in, I sort of received these numbers of women who are meant to join me in these programs. And I got the number 14, but I was struggling to really back it and really get my energy behind it. For some reason, I could believe 12, but not 14, because 12 meant it was like 180,000 or something. 14 meant it was 200. And I was like, oh, I can't do that. That doubling a launch, oh, whatever. So I wasn't backing it. Anyway, I had the launch, had the date, 12 came in, and I was like, no, I was given 14. No, so we had a holiday. I had a month, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to tell anyone about it. I'm not going to market it, but I want 14. Anyway, the next couple of weeks happened. This girl randomly reaches out to me, and she's super keen to join. She's my absolute ideal client, love her to bits, beautiful soul in every way, like exactly the sort of woman I want to call in. And she's thinking about it, curious about it, but I have some emotional stuff I have some unconscious stuff I'm not letting process. So it's a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks goes by, she hasn't sort of decided. I let go of this emotional stuff. I actually go and do my unconscious truth circle stuff, And then, she messages me and she's like, all right, I'm super keen. But she still wasn't exactly sure. That weekend, I was going out with my clients in Melbourne, and I went to a restaurant and we were having a drink, and I was standing somewhere, and this client of mine came in and she didn't know where I was. So I went down to meet her where I was in the city. I was saying hi to her, and this girl who I've been talking to walked past and saw us at that exact moment that I was standing there. And funnily enough, the girl I was standing with is the girl got her on the phone with, and she was talking to her about my work and alchemy. She was the exact girl standing there with me. What the heck is the likelihood of that? I can't orchestrate that stuff. And after that, she's like, all right, yeah, I get the sign, I'm in. But like that stuff happens to me all the time, all this magical stuff, not because Miranda's amazing. I never used to create it now because I'm connected to my superconscious. It creates crazy miracles like that all the time that I cannot orchestrate. A human being can't create, right? I could tell you thousands of stories of magic like that. And you have that same power in you. It's just about how much energy and focus we're putting into what area. Before, I was creating shit shows and what I didn't want because my energy and my focus was in my unconscious. I didn't know, but that's where it was. When I changed it to being slightly more in my superconscious, slightly more in my creative power, slightly seeing myself and my life from that view more often, not all the time. I don't live there all the time. I'm in my shit too. But I just had a bit of a predominant focus there. Look what happens. My whole life's different. I want to lead you through something to help you connect with this for yourself. So I'd love you to close your eyes and just receive an experience. Take some deep breaths, arrive in your body. Feel your heartbeat. Just notice, what it is to feel in your body right now. And I want you to imagine that you're just floating up high in the sky. Really high up in the sky, even to the point that you are in amongst the cosmos, amongst the stars. You're floating in the universe. And I want you to notice there's a timeline there pointing in, there's a past and there's a future. And I want you to float down along the past, all the way down through your younger adult days, your teenagehood, your childhood, even to the point where you were born. And I want you to even float beyond that. When you were an essence in this universe, I want you to see yourself floating and shining bright like this golden light. And this golden light's just taken over your whole being. You're just shining like this bright light. And I want you to feel in every sinew, every element of your being, the power that is vibrating through your soul. The deep presence and connection to everything. The certainty, the knowledge, the insight, the wisdom. Knowing all things, seeing these things. The love that is overwhelming your whole being. I want you to turn it up even more. Feel that, sense that, see that light brightly shine even more, and sense that true nature of who you actually are. This is you. This is your soul. This is your true identity. And I want you to, just when you're ready, float back down into your seat, but knowing the real you, the genius you, the all-powerful creator that you truly are. And from this place, I want you to see all that's possible when you actually claim your true identity. And when you're ready, you can put back in the chat what you're taking away from either that experience or what I've shared around your creator self. You see, these people you admire, they're not these special human beings that are unlike you. They are exactly like you. They have a human victim element to themselves, and they have a superconscious, genius, powerful part to themselves. And if they have what they want, they've just been tapping more into that one than the other one. They're still going in there and exploring that one, but they're just tapping in to this. Yes. There isn't separation. There's no separation from anyone or anything that we want or are. Yeah. And if you look at your dreams, there's a lot more powerful rituals that I use to help me connect to that. But if you look at your dreams and what you can do and create, and how powerful you are from that place, you are a force to be reckoned with. You're a miracle maker. You're a creator. And when I step into my truths of the right now, step into my victim, let that speak, and then I tap back into, hang on, who really is Miranda? Who is this powerhouse? Who is this powerful being? And what can I create? What am I going to go do? I'm going to fucking go for what I want to go for. I'm going to go and create this stuff, and I know it's going to happen. And if it's not, I'm involving, and the next time it will. Like, it's all good. Doesn't mean anything about me. Just means I didn't have my focus there in that point. Cool. I'll do it next time. But when we claim that, we have the self-worth, we have the power, we have everything. When I claim that, nothing I go for is trying to prove, like I'm creating a retreat right now. I'm not creating it to prove something about myself. I'm creating because I love it and I want to do it. And that creative self in me wants to do it. And if it lands or it doesn't, okay. They're just a reflection of where my focus was. That's all right. Just feedback. Cool. Let's get back on. It's okay. So we need to know that is our identity. That is who we truly are. And then along the timeline, when we started to get born and, have these childhood experiences and have all these other beliefs and stuff, that's all a part of our victim, our ego, our unconscious, but it's actually not who we are. Very key distinction. It's a part of what we might think and feel at a moment, but it is not true. It's actually bullshit. Very important. When I come from knowing I'm that creator, I can face my unconscious, face all the stuff. Same as when my son has a hissy fit, he has a tantrum or whatever. I don't get freaked out and worried about it. I know the truth of who he is and who I am, and it's all good. I have the perspective. So I don't get, oh my goodness, I can't think of what he's last got upset about, but I don't get carried away with it because I've got that perspective. Okay. Very, very powerful. I'm not seeing all the questions and things. If we have some at the end, I'll answer them, but thank you for your thoughts and what's coming out for you, ladies and gentlemen. So that's the second piece, is really tapping into our creator and putting predominant focus into our creator self. Being aware of our unconscious, but our predominant focus is in our creator, and that is our true identity. And living from that place and continuing to reorient back to that place. Okay, and this last piece is your activator. Because it's all well and good to do these meditations and these rituals, and and I told you I made a $10,000 a month from meditating. However, the next time I tried to do that again, I couldn't, because I was like, I didn't believe that I could keep creating it. It's not that we're just sitting here and I'm meditating and some man comes, my soulmate comes through the room and and it could happen, but more likely that if I'm out there meeting men, I'm probably going to meet them, right? I've got some action I'm doing. If I'm doing the meditation, I'm in alignment, then I go outside of my house and talk to a human being, take some action that I feel called to do, it's probably going to more likely happen, right? So the activator part, the warrior part of us, that warrioress part of us, is the part that lands the plane. It's the part of us that concretizes. It's the part of us that actually takes some action towards what we want. So I have this, I'll tell you about alchemy, right? I went on this embodiment, like this retreat, and it was phenomenal. And it helped me really tap into my victim and clear a lot of stuff, you know, really experience it, be aware of it, release a lot of things in that space, and tap into my creator, that power. And it was a very meditative, powerful place. 2 days after that event, that retreat, very life transforming event experience, alchemy, my beautiful program, comes downloaded to me. I wake up 10 minutes later, I'm typing out, and the whole program's like just channeled down to me, and exactly how I'm meant to present it, market it, everything just all comes to me in 10 minutes, because I've been connected to my, you know, creator, and clearing the things on the victim. And then I get, you know, give some directions, run this masterclass. You know, this was my first launch of it. Speak to this person, message this person. I get a couple of clear directions in general, but then on the daily, I get directions of what to do, like little nudges, little intuitive things on what action to take. It's not enough that I just sit here and I've done a retreat and then I like meditated and I got this download and then cool, it's just going to happen. I sit here and just let's see what the universe is going to do. There's some part of us to do something about that. And it's scary. Even if I tap into my creator, even if I do the clearing, I'm still shit scared to go tell people about what I'm doing, to see it may not work. I get 1 or 2 people in, and then I'm like, I got 10 people. Like, oh, I'm waiting on I might not, you know, that's scary, but I still take action. I still go forward. I still take steps to do that. And they're intuitively inspired steps as well. And so the activator, yeah, there's nothing to do. There's always action to take, very much so. And so the way that quote and why that's there and why that's important is, and I'm going to do this for you in a moment, when you connect to your creator self, and you go into the vision. So I go into alchemy and I go, okay, I'm here and I've got the 10 women here. It's happened. I'm in the future and it's happened. I'm landing there and it's happened. What did I do? Like, what's the next step here that I took? When I do that, I'll just get a couple of obvious direct approach steps. It will just be obvious and real direct, easy things to do. However, before I was operating at this extreme warrior, trying really hard, you know, to take all this action and this masculine energy, like fight and get, you know, willpower and get what I want. We end up doing all this stuff because what's happening is we're actually in the victim going, oh shit, how am I going to create that? Like, I'm not worthy of that. That's not possible for me. I'm down here. That's up there. Like, no, I can't do that. So we think we got to do thousands of things and jump 10 million times and become this perfect person and do all these courses and look hot and whatever, you know, to do it. It's not true. If we go from our creator, we know who we are, we tap into the end result, and we're living that. We look back and go, what did we do? There was only often a couple of things you do. There's not a lot. There's not a lot. So I want to lead you through this simple thing now. Again, close your eyes. I want you to imagine something that you deeply desire to create right now. You would love to create. Would you love to call into life, into being? Tapping into that creative power again, imagining that light, remembering that power that you felt in your body. I want you to go to the future, across that timeline, into the future where that moment has happened. You've just arrived and experienced and created the very thing that you want to create. Feel it, sense it. Let your body receive it. What does it feel like? How overjoyed are you? And take a look back at where you used to be and ask yourself, what was that next step that I took to get here? What was that very next thing I did? That next action to get here? And when you receive something, write it down. When you get that little nudge, write it down. Just whatever's obvious. Could be just something really obvious as an essential next step. And I challenge you, if it's possible, because some of them may be something you might need to do in a couple of days or something, but I challenge you to do it after the end of this call. Go and do it. Feel the fear and do it anyway. I was afraid of putting this masterclass out. I didn't want to do it. I don't want to do lives. I don't want to do posts. I don't want to. There's so many times I don't want to offer retreats. I don't want to do any. There's a part of me that doesn't want to do any of it, but there's a big part of me, my creator, that desperately wants to, because I love it and I want to do it. There's always going to be those two forces there. So we can't wait to feel safe and we're going to feel all good and then I'll take action. There's a part of you that courage is just a vital piece of this process. Going for what you want, going for what you love, stepping out there. I work with a lot of people. I work with a lot of women. I work with a lot of women over the 7 years I've been in my business. So many say they want a thriving business. So many say they want a life they love, a love they love. A lot of people say they want 100K business or million or what. I hear all this stuff and it's beautiful and it's amazing, but I will tell you, why then is there only 10% of people creating over a six-figure business? Why? Often because one of these steps are missing, but very often this one and the actual courage and following through and actually going for it is one that's very hugely missed. I mean, all of the steps could be, some people go hard and go hardcore, but they're not aligned and they're not actually connecting to certainty and creator. And so then they're flailing. I was like that for a long time. But there is a big number in the spiritual community, in the consciousness community, in the embodiment community that I see that have the most beautiful desires. They're not landing them. They're not creating them physically. They can meditate and see them and sense them and everything, but they're not creating them because they're not just taking that courage and moving towards it no matter what. Every time I go to create what I want, it's shit. I'm shit scared. Every time. There's not one thing I do that I'm not scared, but I still do it because I love it. And I know that this is going to evolve me above everything anyway. The journey is so beautiful and worth it. So if you guys put in your last takeaways, your main takeaway from this whole experience, I would love you to put that in the chat. And I'd also love for you in the chat to put a yes if you are in Melbourne or Australia. I would love to know who's in Melbourne or Australia. If you are, put a yes in there, please. Melbourne or Australia. So I have a little invitation for my Melbourne Australian ones. It's something that overseas people can come to as well. But potentially more Melbourneites and Australianites will be wanting to come to this. So I have, in a month's time, got my very own first retreat, in-person retreat that I'm running in Portsea, so in Victoria, in Melbourne, on the 11th of November to the 13th of November. And I am so excited about this because it is something that I've wanted to create since the beginning of my business. And I've finally bit the bullet and just decided to create it. And I'm really excited because it literally is just coming out of a desire of love. I'm not actually doing this to make money. That's actually not going to actually make me a lot of money. There's not a lot of profit in this retreat because I've gone all out for this luxury experience for everyone. And it's literally a love fest for me. It's a love creation, completely and utterly for that purpose. And I haven't done an in-person event, run an in-person event for a long time. Back in my health business was the last time I ran. I used to run in-person workshops. This is the first in-person event where you get to experience the connection, the love, the group, the intimacy, everything in this space. So I would love, if you're interested in the information for the retreat, it's around manifesting, around abundance. It's around abundance in all of life and in your business. That's what the whole purpose of it is. And to really unlock your superconscious to help you create exactly what you desire. And we're going to go through some really deep immersion experiences, things that I can't lead online, things that are actually something that my clients who've been with me for a long time haven't even experienced. So it's really, really special. And I'm really excited. And I personally have had the most humongous transformations from retreats. There's going to be a month-long integration container as well to help you integrate it as well. It's not like we're just having that experience and that's it. So if you would like information on my retreat, can you put a yes, please in the chat, and I will send you some information on it. And yeah, I think that's the main pieces I wanted to say. There are lots of options to make it doable. There's lots of payment options and things. I'm someone who's very flexible, coming from my single mum background and being frustrated that coaches didn't really create options to help me make it possible at times. And I had to really find it difficult to create these things. I make it possible for people. I really, really want to, because I want to unleash this in you. And I believe if I can do it, anyone can. If I can do it from where I was to here now, anyone can, if they know how to tap into this deep way of superconscious relating in their life. Their whole life completely transforms. So put a yes, please in that. Now, if you can't make those dates, or you're not able to come physically to Australia, in Portsea as well, then I actually have an online event. There's a 2-day event that I'm also offering. It's the condensed version of my 6-month alchemy mastermind down into 2 days. And it's really, really powerful. People have had crazy results. One of the girls who just did it a couple of weeks ago just made a $10,000 a week following on from it. And she's just been growing beyond that. She's never had that for 2 years in her business. She hadn't created any money, for that long. So if you would like to know about my online event, just say online, because I don't want to get it mucked up with the yes, please. Say online. Now, my request to you is that if you have said that, if you've said yes, please, number one is make sure your name is accurate and right, because some people have like Zoom user and I'm like, no idea how to find you. I'm sorry. Like, the second request is, could you reach out to me? If we know each other on Facebook, on my personal profile or on my business page, could you please message me? It would make my life so much easier if you could do that. So much easier. I'm about to go to Egypt in a couple of days, which is a super conscious bridge that I've been received and downloaded. So I'm super pumped for. But I also, it just means I don't have heaps of time to be finding people on Facebook and all the things. So it'd be massive if you could help me with that. I will drop the link into the retreat as well in here, so that you can actually apply. There's a couple of questions there. You can actually apply and get on a phone call and look at it by that link there as well. So either message me on Facebook or do the questions in that. Would be super helpful. It would make my life really easy. That would be great. So we've come to the end of the official time. I do want to leave the space for, any questions or anything that anyone wants to share, because I know that, no one's actually physically been able to share, but I also know that you may need to run off and that sort of thing. So if you need to go, love you so much. I'm going to look back at your feedback, your key takeaways. Really, really appreciate all of the comments that you've been doing. But if anyone wants to share something or ask a question, I'm happy to leave it open. If you need to go, you can go. But if anyone wants to, I'm happy to leave it open for a little bit. So you can unmute. Oh, Claire, go for it, doll.
Miranda, that was brilliant, my lovely. So clear and concise. And I just loved the genius aspect of the journey. And I love how you shared the heart of service. That just resonates so beautifully.
Thanks.
So thank you so much for holding the space for us all. And just so proud of you. Like, you're just taking action, and just seeing you grow in the last 2 years has just been really inspiring. So it's just been wonderful. So thank you for that.
Thanks.
And just in relationship to the weekend online, can you offer us a bit more information of how many hours it will be per day? And
yep, good question. I didn't say a lot. So the weekend online event is basically the way it's working at the moment. I will be running it again like live, but right now it's a discounted rate because it's the online recording of the last event that I ran. So it's basically open for, quite a while for you to like access them in your own time and space. And then we have an integration call as well. And I also hook people up with others who are doing it like this, so they have peer and community and connection. And I'm available for like quick, questions and messages and things. But I think it's ended up being, the event was 9 till 4. So I'm pretty sure the amount of videos is, I think it was like 10 hours or something. I'm not 100% sure. We had an hour off. So whatever 9 to 4, if someone's great at maths, without an hour, I can work that out of how many hours. And it was, really condensing the work of how I manifest what I do, into that time, and the key meditations and practices and like applications that I use to, manifest that. So it's basically is my 6-month work, condensed into that time and the main, elements. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks, my lovely.
Yeah, good question. But I like what you say about, service. That was a massive changing point for me, because before that I was really wanting to manifest money and focusing on the money. And now I actually don't even have any money in my manifesting and my choices. I actually don't even have any numbers or anything like that. I actually have numbers of people and women that I feel that Superconscious tells me to call in. And that really helped massive transformation for me, because what I see is their transformation and the journey with them. And then the money is just a byproduct of the value that I care so much and I put so much into that. Before, it was about the money, and it was my ego got so much more involved. My unconscious got so much more involved in it, So that pure service is really, really beautiful. Saying that, obviously the money's great. Money's beautiful in itself. There's lots of things it provides, but that was a big shift for me, for sure. Good pickup. Anyone else?
I just want to say thank you, but to anyone here that's umming and ahhing about the online thing, I finished it a week ago and it's awesome. So
thanks, Del. Yeah, and we wish Belle could make it to the retreat, but she's unable to on those dates.
Yeah, Mind Body Spirit Festival.
Yeah, you're off. Yeah, and that would be
the
awesome.
Online thing is awesome. So if you're on the fence, do it.
Do it. Thanks, Del. Appreciate that. I was pretty impressed with it myself, to be honest. The day before, my unconscious was like, this is going to be shit, man. And then I was like, my genius came on and it was like, so I was like, I sat back at the end. I'm like, oh, that was better than I was expecting. Like it's what happens when the genius comes out. Far out. Thank you, Del. Anyone have any questions or shares?
I was going to ask about co-creation and creating.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, that was awesome. I really loved the session. It was so good, Miranda.
Thanks, buddy.
Nice energy. Yeah. So I was wondering if you could just expand on just that part.
Co-creation.
Yeah.
Anything in particular about about that? Is there anything else you want to add to me about that, or like what fascinated you or what you questioned about that?
Yeah, it was just when you used it like together with creation, and I've never heard it. Like I always thought, okay, it's just creator as just the term, but I've never heard of the word co-creator.
Yeah.
As a term, so it was pretty
Well,
cool.
I really believe like we co-create with God and the universe and the superconscious, and and that's where it's that dance of I have work to do and actions to take, and then the universe I receive, and it's that masculine and feminine polarity and that dance of the two energies. Because like when I'm in a launch, with alchemy, for instance, and just recently had one, and I had that 200K launch. I will receive actions and pieces, like to chat to these people, run this masterclass like this, specific things that will come up. And then there'll be a point as well where I just get the action to surrender and release, and I'll focus on some energy release or do my manifesting meditation, or and just sit back and enjoy myself and actually go to the hot springs or whatever. And it will just be receiving. And then sometimes, often then it's like there's all these people, like I hit a wall or I hit a block and there's just like no movement in the launch. And then I do something like that. And that's when the universe can come and do its part. And I'm stepping back and I'm like going, okay, I've done my part. I tried my, and I'm like, now this is surrender. Like, come on, and that's often when then more will come through, and in these real magical, miraculous ways. And so it's like, I really see it as a dance with the universe and my superconscious and God, or whatever you want to believe, that I'm receiving and giving and doing and like surrendering all at the same time, and I'm just getting those nudges, and I'm getting how to do what energy is needed here, what actions needed here or not action, and so that's the co-creation there. In terms of like when co-creating with like people, when I mentioned the word co-creation with my ex-husband, I had all my unconscious bullshit that attracted him in, and my unconscious chose him because it knew that this was all going to happen, and it also created it from that energy that I was coming from, right? But he also did the same thing. He had unconscious stuff from his childhood, which is why he chose me, and I brought up all of his triggers. And so we were just a co-creating ball of mess, creating all of this sort of stuff. And we can also equally have a beautiful relationship that co-creates. So even with clients and things, we can co-create any trigger that we receive. It's a co-creation, right? So if anything is happening in my life and it's not what I want, I might always look at like, how am I co-creating this with them? And it's that self-responsibility piece, but also acknowledging it's not all on us as well. And the other person is equally doing that, So that's the two. Does that help, Nelson?
Yeah, that actually has. That was well explained. Yeah, thanks so much for that.
That's all right.
Yeah, thanks.
Welcome.
Increase my vocabulary there.
Awesome. Catherine.
Yes, hello. Thank you so much for that masterclass. I loved hearing in particular just what goes through your head before launches as well, because sometimes you're like, is it just me? But yeah, I do have a question. So I think, and it's just kind of coming through me now, so sorry if it's a bit disjointed, but I think maybe coming from a lot of spiritual and personal development backgrounds, sometimes there's an emphasis on like when you recognize that there's a belief or there's something that's like limiting you in getting what you want. We're directed sometimes to focus on that and heal that and do all this work around like the shadow, right? And is what I'm hearing from this, actually the approach is not so much to dive into all of this like healing and diving into the shadow as much as it is just recognizing it's there and instead just tapping into a completely different energy or a completely different space.
Yeah, it's quite a big question because I'm in the superconscious realm and I'm in the embodiment realm, and I've come from many different spaces and I've done lots of different modalities and work, and, so my answer to this may be different in different spaces compared to what they may answer, right? And one thing I'll say in terms of what you said there is definitely I do not have an approach of healing. I need to heal this, or I need to fix this, or even I need to change this and stop this or whatever. Because like I was saying, like from what this work I've done and what I totally agree with from my experience of trying it all the other ways is that the unconscious isn't going anywhere. The beliefs are not going anywhere. We can try all we want. They're going to be there. They're staying. It's just our orientation to the world. It's not, it keeps us alive and survive. It's not going anywhere for that reason. If you get bitten by a scorpion or stung or whatever the word is for them, as a child, and then you later on try and have hypnotherapy to try and forget that experience and forget the scorpions are bad because you got issue, whatever, your brain doesn't want to forget. It nearly killed you. Like it's not going to like want to just let that go and go, oh yeah, scorpions are happy little cuddly teddy bears, like doesn't want to do that. And so it's just, we need to just understand the unconscious, and so many modalities are trying to do that very thing I'm not, the scorpion's an example, but that's what they're trying to do. They're fundamentally trying to stop you and change this and fix that. And because that's wrong and broken. It's not rotten broken. It's just what the unconscious thinks. Same as my son. I don't know. I can't think of any things that he has a funny fear of right now, but he's got a fear of cats at the moment. I don't know. He's just funny with cats. And it's like, I have to sit there and like do a little seance thing on him or whatever, you know, like it's just that's what it is right now. That's cool. So that's one thing to say about the unconscious. So the way I approach the unconscious now is very different. And, you know, when we go heavy and hard into all of that, you know, focus so much on it, actually gives it more power. You saw all this shit I try to do to fix all that. Look what it created. Like it ended up just creating more energy in it, right? They talk about in the myths, the dragon's head's cut off and it creates 3 heads. It's like often it, you know, we don't need to fight the dragon. We just got to pacify. We just got to, you know. So the approach I now take to it is a lot of the time I will just see it, acknowledge it, have awareness of it, do a truth circle sort of thing, and it will move and shift, and then I'll go back to my creator. And however, when it hits a deeper nerve for me and it is something deeper, around worth, it was a lot of things for me, or lovability, or because that's my thing from my childhood, you know, there are things I need to do that are like the heavier duty guns, you know, I might need to go and do some deeper movement work or like some release work or something to, because it's quite a deeper emotion that's hitting. It's not just a surfacey thing, you know? So personally, I have tools in alchemy and in my work that will go deeper into some more somatic things and things when it is a deeper thing, because sometimes I'll do that. I'll do the consciousness thing and it won't shift it. So I'll have to go a bit more into my body and somatically, you know, that's my personal, because I weave embodiment and consciousness together. And I find that has supported me in manifesting to the degree that I have, because like I said before, if I'm trying to be Wonder Woman, Superman or whatever, and I'm trying to fly, but I'm rooted down in this somatic feeling and emotion that I'm traumatized with, by just trying to go off and do the super conscious isn't going to necessarily do it, you know. But at all times, I know I'm my creator, and this is just the feeling, and I don't get sucked into it, because if I stay the victim and I'm orientating from that, I'll be like, oh my God, I'm a piece of shit, you know, like, so it's not as big and long as it used to be, but I still will use deeper stuff if I need to.
Cool.
So yeah, my answer is a bit different to what the embodiment world would say. No, you got to go way deeper. In this consciousness world, they'll be like, no, don't do any of that. You know, so I marry it a bit.
Yeah, amazing. Love that. Thank you.
No worries. But, you know, your intuition will always know as well, right? Like what's needed. It always will know. We have that ability. But great question. Any others? We're all just wanting to hang out. I think that might be complete, hey? As much as I love staring at all of your faces. All right. I think that's complete. If you have any other question, you can send me a message or whatever, but I'm really, truly so grateful that you're here, sending you so much love. Please reach out if you were interested in any of that. It would save me time, but otherwise, lots of love, and we'll see you all around. Bye-bye.